And it's Amber in her natural habitat as I come through the tree.
I'm in the autumn. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're making a very simple jersey knit dress that are nice and stretchy and very simple to just pull out of the closet and wear. I love all the different prints that jersey knit comes in, and I have this one that I made for Halloween, but I also have one that I'm making for Christmas time just because they are so much fun to make. So why don't you come along with me and we can make one together. For this dress, I used McCall's M8064. It's a simple dress that suggested fabrics are stretch knits and cotton jerseys or cotton knits, so that's why I chose to use this one. I used pattern E, but I made some modifications where I cut it off at the waistline and I added a circle skirt to the bottom instead of the straight A-line skirt. I did also lengthen the sleeves a little bit, so I'll add a very poorly adjusted picture to show what I did with this. Just as I do with any of my other projects that are meant to be worn, I would serge around my pockets, and I always stay stitched the very beginning of the neckline to keep it from warping. I had a math class this night, so I was only able to work on this project for a little over an hour or so. Did not really get much work done on it. But what I was able to do was, after stay stitching, I did attach the front and back bodice pieces together at the shoulders. After that, I went ahead and serged those seams to kind of keep everything a little less bulky as I was working through this whole project. I also sewed the neckband piece together, making one continuous loop, and I did gathering stitches on the top part of my sleeves. To do those gathering stitches, I just lengthened my stitch length to the highest setting and sewed one long stitch from the two marked points I had on my sleeves without back stitching at beginning or end. I tried working on this a little bit during my math class, but it wasn't proving very effective because I had to keep stopping. I was able to attach the sleeves to the bodice. I left everything flat like I did on my last project because it just seemed that much easier to lay everything flat and work with it instead of having all the curves. After putting all my pins on the sleeves, I took it back to the machine to sew those down and then take that to the serger to finish off those seams as well. After sewing and serging the sleeve seams, I went ahead and marked where the hemline should be on the sleeves, so I knew that for in the future. And I put the pockets on the skirt. I marked 3 inches down from the top of the waistline on the circle skirt, and I attached the 4 pocket pieces to all of those. I then took it to the machine to sew the pocket and serge the pocket. I also added some gathering stitches to the top of the waistline, which I didn't need too much, but I just like to have that extra little bit to make that circle skirt really flowy and flouncy. Since I had my iron on at this point, I went ahead and took the neckband over to the ironing board and folded it in half so I would know where all of my raw edges were lined up whenever it was time to pin that to the neckline of the dress. The last thing I did for this night was to attach the skirt to the front and back bodice pieces, but I did not sew down the sides. I figured I would wait until the very end, or as late as I possibly could, to just do one long seam down the side from the end of the sleeve to the end of the hem. I came back to work on the dress the next day, and I had decided I did not like how still it looked kind of baggy and slouchy in the waistline. So I decided to cinch it a little tighter, and I added elastic to the front and back at the serge seams that I did. To add the elastic at the waistline, what I did was I turned off the knife so the feature wouldn't cut any of the fabric off on the serger. I added a little bit of elastic at the end and stitched down a little bit to hold it in place, and then I just kind of stretched the elastic as I went, so when the dress was worn it would cinch in a little bit more. At this point, I could now go ahead and sew up the side seams starting at the end of the wrist, where I pinned from there all the way down to the bottom of the skirt, making sure to pin around the pockets, and I just started sewing from there all the way down and around. I just made sure to go slow and pivot as I went so I did not create any kind of puckers in the fabric at all. It did take a little bit of time sewing around the pocket. As you can see, I've got limited workspace in some of these areas. To make it as easy as possible for later on, I only sewed the one side and then I pulled a couple of my clips off the bottom, opened the dress all the way at the bottom at the skirt, and I serged at the bottom a hem, so this was all ready to be finished off at the end of the project. Then I was able to go back and sew up the other side by just putting those last pins back at the bottom. I added the neckband to the dress now, marking the front and the back in the center, as well as using the shoulder seams as guides to have this as evenly distributed as possible. I then just trimmed my seam allowance, folded it over, and then just stitched in the ditch to make sure I had a nice clean seam line whenever I finished up sewing the neckline. I also finished off the hem on the sleeves by just folding it where I had marked it, sewing all around that. The last thing I needed to do was a bit of a lengthy process. I just kept trying to tuck in the bottom part of the hem, and I sewed around all of the hemline here. It did take a little bit of time just because with the circle skirt, you're always working with more circumference and yardage at the bottom of the skirt, but once that was done, everything was finished. So how does it look? Thank you guys so much for watching. I super appreciate it. If you like watching my content and you want to see more, please feel free to like, subscribe, comment on this video. It will help get it out there for other people to see, to be able to enjoy as well. I appreciate you guys all so much. If you'd like to see more, I'll go ahead and throw in a couple of videos over here on the side. I hope to see you guys again real soon. Bye!